morning, everyone. Good afternoon to those for whom it applies. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We're studying from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, entitled Purusha Sukta Confirmed, Text 33. Text 33, Chapter 6, Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today is May 29th, 2020. Narayanam namaskritya naram chagnavotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tatojayam udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshva Bhagaveshu Nityam Bhagavata Seveya Bhagavad Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Text 33, Chapter 6, Canto 2, Srimad Bhagavatam. Iti te abhihitam tata yata idam anuprichasi na anyat Bhagavata kinchit bhavyam sat asat atmakam iti te vihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi nanyat bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sadasad atmakam iti te vihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi nanyat bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sadasad atmakam iti te vihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi nanyat bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sadasad atmakam
Iti Bhagavatam Vivitam Tata
iti te vihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi nanyat bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sadasad atmakam
iti te abhitam tata
iti te vihitam tata
yatedam anuprichasi
nanyat
bhagavata kinchit bhavyam sad asad atmakam iti te vihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi anyat bhagavata kinchit bhavyam sada sadatmakam
iti te vihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi
Nanyat Bhagavata Kinchid
Bhavyam Sadasad Atmakam.
Bhavyam Sadasat Atmakam. Would anyone else like to recite the verse?
Iti te bihitam tata.
Iti te bihitam tata
Yadhe damanu prichasi.
yate damanu prichasi
Nanyad bhagavata kinchid.
nanyat bhagavata kinchid
Bhavyam sara saratmakam.
bhavyam sad asad atmakam. Iti,
Iti.
thus,
Thus.
te,
Te.
unto you,
Unto you.
abihitam,
Abhitam.
explained,
Explained.
tata,
Tata.
my dear son,
My dear son.
yata,
Yata.
as,
As.
idam,
Idam.
all these,
All these.
anuprichasi,
Anuprichasi.
as you have inquired,
Every required.
na,
Na.
never,
Never.
anya,
Anya.
anything else,
Anything else.
bhagavata,
Bhagavata.
beyond the personality of Godhead,
Beyond personality of Godhead.
kinchit,
Kinship.
nothing,
Nothing.
bhavyam,
Bhavyam.
to be thought ever,
To be thought ever.
sat,
Sat.
cause,
Cause.
asat,
Asat.
effect,
Effect.
atmakam,
Atmakam.
in the matter of.
In the matter of.
Translation. My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The complete cosmic situation, both in the material and in the spiritual manifestations of the energies of the Lord, is working and moving first as the cause and then as the effect. But the original cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Effects of the original cause become the causes of other effects, and thus everything, either permanent or temporary, is working as cause and effect. And because the Lord is the primeval cause of all persons and all energies, He is called the cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita as well as in the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 affirms, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. And in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, it is said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddhabhava samanvita. So the original primeval cause is Vigraha, the personal. And the impersonal spiritual effulgence Brahma-Jyoti is also an effect of the Supreme Brahman, Brahmanohi Pratishtaham, Lord Krishna. Om Angyanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuktapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragnatam Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatkate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Panchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhukyeva Cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Text 33, chapter 6 of Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Iti te vihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi nanyad bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sadasad atmakam. My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you. And you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. So, Lord Brahma, he's the chief demigod, he's the engineer of the universe, and he's the head, he's the first spiritual master in our parampara. Of course, Krishna is the first spiritual teacher, and he Tene Brahma Vidayadi Kavi, and he imparted all the Vedic wisdom, culminating in Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness to Brahma, and Brahma's conveying it here to Narada Muni, and Narada Muni conveys it to Srila Vyasadeva, who's actually a literary incarnation of Krishna. Okay, and so the essence here is that the cause of all causes is personal. Prabhupada emphasizes vigraha, form, personal, personality. In the purport, Prabhupada cites two verses for those interested in learning standard verses. These two are definitely up there amongst the most standard verses, along with like Srinada Pisuni Chinatori Vasahishnu Manina Mananida Kirtaniya Sadari. So the first verse from Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigrahana Dhira Govinda Sarvakarana Karnam. And then the Bhagavad Gita verse where Krishna says, I'm the source of all material and spiritual energies and worlds. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. This is the first of the four seed verses of Bhagavad Gita. Back in 2014 or 2015, Bhakta Patrick organized a seed verses course, a series of classes, 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita and 4 seed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he invited me to lead some discussions on that. And so, okay. So that the source, the source of everything, the transcendental cause and source of all emanations is Sri Krishna's personality of Godhead. This is simple in a sense, like by logic, by intelligence, we can understand. There's intelligence behind even something simple like this watch. So there must be a greater intelligence behind the universe. It's simple in a sense. It's straightforward. And at the same time, it's very, very difficult to understand Krishna. It's very, very, very difficult to get this. Very, very difficult to get this. And Narada Muni is getting it because he's not envious. Narada Muni is getting it because he's not envious. At the beginning of the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Idam tu te gyatamam pravakshyam yena suyave. He says to Arjuna, I'm sharing with you this confidential knowledge because you're not envious of me. Gyanam vigyanam saitam yajatvam mokshisai subhat. And by receiving and understanding this transcendental knowledge of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Krishna, you'll be liberated from all the miseries of material existence. And again, you're able to receive because you're not envious of me. And so Prabhupada would sometimes say, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple and complicated for the crooked. It means if we have some envious, crooked agenda, then like that's very difficult. Very difficult because we're making it difficult because we don't want to get that the Supreme is a person. And of course, the Vedas, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives, Prabhupada would sometimes say, we give details about that Supreme person. So many details that 30 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can call it a very partial biography of the personality of Godhead. It could be 300 volumes or 3,000 volumes. But in these 30 volumes, we get descriptions of the 10th canto, Krishna, not just the 10th canto, also the first canto is Krishna's there, the second canto, third canto. But also we get so much information, knowledge, realization about the different expansions of Krishna, incarnations, Nrsimha Dev, Matsya Avatar. I'm going to suggest AC.
No problem.
Yeah, I think so. This is first. Hare Krishna. Oh, I'm going to suggest maybe put the AC on.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, right here. Okay. So, so Prabhupada emphasizes that we get detailed information of this personality of Godhead, not just the great one in the sky, about Krishna's activities and his flute playing. We get detailed information. And so the whole material project is, we might not think in those terms, but I want to be Krishna. I should be the most admired one. I should be the center. I should be the center. And that's why it's like, Krishna is very difficult to get. God, the personality of God. And that's why, so God, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's meeting the conditioned souls. He's meeting the conditioned souls where we're at. And so this is one of the first principles that I really appreciated about the teachings of Prabhupada. That it's not like, this is the way, or like that we can understand that sure, there can be many ways, and they all lead to devotional service, they all lead to bhakti yoga. But it makes sense that the supreme teacher, the supreme facilitator is meeting us where we're at. And so there could be some who maybe have some inclination to grasp something above just gratifying the senses and just the illusion that I'm the body, like that. And so the idea of some non-personal aspect of the absolute. So there are many teachings in all traditions. There's the mystical Christianity and Kabbalah and Sufi, and of course in the Vedas, so many that point to the Brahma-Gyoti realization. Vedanti tat tatvavidas tattvamyadganamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. So learned transcendentalists realize the absolute truth in 3 different phases. So according to different perspectives. Prabhupada sometimes gives the example, just like someone can say, oh, milk is a white substance. Someone else can say, oh, milk has this delicious taste. And someone else, oh, milk has this special sweet aroma. Okay, so according to our different, perspectives, sense perceptions, we realize milk in different ways. And so similarly, according to one's perspective, one realizes the absolute truth as Brahma-Gyoti, as Paramatma, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada quotes the verse here, Brahmano hi Pratishtha. This is the last verse in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I'm the source of the Brahma-Gyoti. That's why there's no question about what's like superior, what's cause, what's effect. All the energies emanate from the personality of Godhead. And so, so someone kind of wants I want something spiritual, at least some escape from the material. So there's all sorts of teachings, many of them bona fide and authorized, where yes, the supreme is, you merge into the oneness. So like, oh, I still get to be God. Because I'm ready to kind of give up the frustrating, empty, futile attempt of fulfillment through gratifying, this bag of blood, stool, and pus, and bones, and skin. Okay, yeah. Okay, so here's philosophy, right? Yeah, I still get to be God, and I get to be spiritual. So it's meaning us, and to make progress in any path, in any bona fide path, even demigod worship, or impersonalization, or super soul, mystic power, direction. To make progress in any path requires some bhakti. And so in all these paths, if we're following according to the rules and regulations, yashastra vidimuchi japartate kamakarita, na sasirim avapmuti, na sukham na paramgati. Krishna says that if we try to do some path, material or so-called spiritual, not within the parameters of authorized regulations, then we won't be happy. We won't go towards perfection. But if we follow any path, then we will progress out of material miseries to understanding who we are, and ultimately towards bhakti. Right? Like in the teachings of Christianity, there's so much there about be good and you'll go to heaven. So that's a very nice path. There's so much there in Judaism, same thing, Vedas. And so to cultivate goodness, that's a nice platform for bhakti. And in the Vedas, be good to go to heaven. Be good, go to heaven. That's kind of like like demigod worship or the karma kanda. It's about that. And in the demigod worship, Vishnu always gets a share of the yagya, of the offerings. So there's always somebody. So we got God and his representatives, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Vyasadeva, conspiring somehow or other to meet us where we're at and to support us to progress out of the envious state and towards love of Krishna. And we don't want to imitate, but we can follow that example. And that's kind of what we endeavor to do in the different transformative communication programs. It's not just meeting ourselves or meeting others where they're at. That's foundational. Otherwise, we're starting with it. If we ignore where I'm at or you're at, we're starting with ignorance, and that's not, a great platform for enlightenment. So we're meeting ourselves, meeting others where we're at, experience our experience, empathy, within the context of supporting and inspiring growth in self-realization, progress towards God consciousness. So obviously Krishna is the supreme expert at that. There's a verse towards the very end of Bhagavad Gita, the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And right before the verse, Yayidam Paramam Gunyam Mad Bhakteshva Vidashati, there's the verses where Krishna says, yes, one who shares this knowledge and this process with the devotees is very dear to me and will come back to me. And there's no servant in this world. There's no servant more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Okay, and as Krishna specific says, one who shares this with the devotees. And in the verse before that, Krishna is saying, no, we shouldn't share this knowledge for one who's not a devotee, for one who's not austere, for one who is envious. So that's interesting, okay? Because we say like, okay, well, so then, did Prabhupada just disobey Krishna, right? Like, Prabhupada, and in a sense, he did. In a sense, in a sense, he is, okay? Because Krishna is saying, well, this knowledge is for those who are like sincere, devoted, they, you know, and they're not envious of me. So, you know, so Prabhupada's coming to us. And so it's like Krishna is defining, not just in that verse, but throughout Gita, Bhagavatam. Tadviti pranipatena prapashana sheva upadekshani teginam geninas tattvadarshana. That Krishna says, yeah, so if we want to learn the truth, let's be submissive and humble and approach a bona fide spiritual master with humility, render service, and ask sincere questions, and the self-realized soul can impart knowledge into you because he has realized the truth. Upadekshanti, he can give the diksha. He can give the diksha, upadekshati teginam ganinas tattvadarshana. He's realized the truth. So that's kind of like the standard scenario, right? There's the pure devotee, spiritual master, and then there's the sincere disciple who's, yeah, I'm tired of material life, and I want bhakti yoga. Okay, and that's the standard scenario. Like as an analogy, let's say it's a university degree program. Let's say in physics, it could be psychology or math or whatever. But let's say there's a university degree program, and the all right. So the president of the university and the physics department head, you know, they have an implicit understanding with the professor. Okay, so you just teach to those who have shown they're sincere. You just teach the physics, Newtonian physics or theory of relativity. You just teach to those who have entered the degree program, they properly registered for the course, they passed all the tests of the prerequisites, they paid the tuition, they're coming to class, they're not a disturbance. That's the basic understanding. These are people who, they're not masters of physics, but they're sincere. They're sincere students of physics. Okay, and so that's who you teach. That's who you teach. You don't teach others. Okay. Of course, it's understood that in principle, this knowledge of physics will be enriching for everyone's intellect. Okay, but that's who you really focus on. All right, so the professor does that. But then let's say there's a professor who's especially enthusiastic, and this professor's going out into the town. He's gone to the frat parties. He's gone to places where, like, he's gone to the bowling alley. He's gone to places where just like people have no interest in physics. People have they're just not interested. Okay. But he has a childlike enthusiasm, and he's like gone to places, and he's just like inspired. He's inspiring people to be interested in physics. He's inspiring people to be interested in physics. And like, yeah, he's sitting down in the restaurants, in the pubs. He's just gone on the street, and he's inspiring people to be interested in physics. And some of them even go like, wow, this is like fascinating stuff. And they even register for the course and they enter the degree program. So actually, in terms of the essence of the educational process, the department head and the director of the university, they're actually like, wow, this professor is so sincere. This professor is so sincere that he's like making people interested in physics. He's not like forcing them, but just through his enthusiasm. So like he's really got the essence of sharing the knowledge. So in one sense, the professor, he's not following the standard guidelines. Only teach those who have, paid, and they're showing they're sincere and they're ready to do the homework. They're ready to do the austerities like that. Okay. Now, so that's the mood of the Gostya Nandi. That's the mood of a aspiring devotee who's eager to share. It's natural. We have something that relieves the heart of the burning of envy and lust and greed, and gives the soul the bliss of the soul. And so we just it's like a child has a nice piece of candy, and if the child is generous in the spirit, naturally the child is eager to share. So with it, that childlike spirit of enthusiasm that, of course, Prabhupada evinces and he embodies. Now, of course, if someone goes, if the professor goes out into the streets and the bowling alleys, and he just disturbs people in the name of sharing the knowledge, if he just disturbs people and they get like a bad taste, I don't know what this physics is, but like, if it's something to do with you, I want nothing to do with it. Okay, then that's called the ninth offense. That's disturbing the minds of the faithful. So if in the name of representing Prabhupada, if in the name of sharing Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga, we just cause a lot more disturbance and people who get a very bad taste for what we're presenting, and we just say, oh, that's because you're an envious demon or something like that. Then that's our shortcoming. That's actually an offense on our part. Krishna and Prabhupada are not happy with that. So many letters from Prabhupada to his disciples, his followers, and he emphasizes that, yeah, it's important that we're able to share this sublime knowledge with tact and discretion, such that whoever we share it with, whether it's one-on-one, whether we're talking to an auditorium of university scholars, whether we're speaking to at the yoga center or our neighbors, that we're so deep in the realization of the principles, we're able to communicate these principles in a way that's gentle and powerful. So we're able to share our realizations so that people get it, And Prabhupada was expert in that. Again, we don't want to imitate, we do want to follow, an important distinction there. So, so that this a special quality of this path of bhakti, and this is a universal path. It's non-sectarian. Nityasita Krishna Prema Saja Kabunoi Shabdanadi Shuddhachite Karye Udai. That love of Krishna, love of God, is eternally situated in the hearts of all living entities, and it's naturally awakened by the process of hearing and chanting. And the thing about bhakti is that the process is the goal. We take one baby step on the path, and we say, oh, there's still 1,000,000 miles to go. No, we take one baby step, that's it, that's the goal. Because the goal is to engage in devotional service. The goal is Krishna, and Krishna is fully present in sincere efforts at bhakti. So the journey is the goal. And we engage in hearing and chanting Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we've arrived. And that's why, again, there's so many processes. God, Krishna, naturally speaks to us according to time, circumstance, place, and person. He's the supreme educator, the expert educator. And that's why, like in the traditional Vedic system, one might work their way up through years, decades, lifetimes to become a Brahmin, means one who's sattvic and realizes Brahman. And then gradually the Brahman can become a yogi who meditates on super soul, and the yogi gradually develops some affection to serve that Paramatma, and then the yogi more and more becomes a Vaishnava, servant of the source of super soul Sarvasya Chamvidisani Vista. And then, so this bhakti yoga, this chanting the names of God, it's the only process that has a chance, it's the only process that's effective in this age. In other ages, it's also the goal of all processes. It's just like in other ages, other processes, we can gradually make advancement there. Here, most of what goes in the name of other processes becomes like a farce. Just like, okay, like the meditational process would take tens of thousands, 60,000 years to perfect. And now it's just like, yes, meditate for half an hour and then do chocolate yoga or stuff like that. So that's why it's described like a Devahuti in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, right toward after she's received the teachings of her son, who's an avatar, an incarnation of Krishna, Kapila Dev. So Devahuti describes, yes, that if one, that even if a dog eater chants your name one time, such a dog eater is like far surpasses the Vedic Brahmins, right? So this is mind-blowing, far out stuff, okay? Now we consider this term dog eater, Vidyavinaya Sampane, Brahmane Gabihastini Shuniche Vasapakija Pandita Samadarshana. Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, and Krishna says, yes, the humble sage by virtue of true knowledge, Vidyavinaya Sampane, sees with equal vision a Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog eater. So this dog eater, very low. And then in terms of birth, for most of us here, maybe all of us here, it would just in terms of birth, it would be like an astounding achievement to come to the level of being a dog eater. Right? I mean, not for all of us, but because like that verse doesn't even mention about those who send cows and pigs to the slaughterhouse, right? That's not even on the chart. That's not even on the chart. It's like dog eater is way above that. So anyhow, Devahuti is saying like someone once chants your name and they're above the Brahmins. And that's why this whole Bhagavatam, Bhakti Siddhanta's mission, Bhakti Vinod, that's why they wanted to kill Bhakti Siddhanta. They want to kill Bhakti Vinod Thakur. They want to kill Srila Prabhupada. This is radical revolutionary. Radical revolutionary. That whatever one's status in society according to birth or economics or education, we just take the Bhakti Yoga. Shinvatam Sakara Krishna Punya Shravan Kirtanam Vidyantastoya Bhajani Vidunoti Suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul Paramatma in the heart of all living entities, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart from material desire for the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which in themselves are virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So we hear and chant, and that leads to that joyful, non-envious state. Vidyate vidyagvantish. Chijante sarasam shek. Shiyante shasya karmani. Chiyante kasya charmani. Drishta evat minishvari. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced. It's the knot of envy, lust, greed. That's being a real friend, helping each other to pierce the knot in the heart, not to tighten the knot. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are slashed to pieces. And the chain of fruitive activities is terminated when one realizes the self as the spiritual self, devotee of Krishna. And then in that place of clean heart, then one can cleanly, enthusiastically, non-enviously engage in devotional service to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This is the innermost, topmost, essential realization of the Vedas. We can try to understand to some extent with our intelligence, and to really open the jar of honey and taste the honey, then it means we give ourselves to this process. We give ourselves to this process of bhakti. Krishna emphasizes in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti mam abhijananti avanyas-chasmi tatvata tato mam tatvato vyatva vishate tadanantaram. Krishna says, only by devotional service can I be understood as I am. That's a theme. So that's Krishna, that's Arjuna. All of these great sages and demigods and acharyas, this is their conclusion. Krishna makes it clear in Bhagavad Gita, Ahamadirhi Devanam Maharshiyam Chasarvasha. He says, just like this verse, I am the source of all demigods and sages. He's not like, he's like another prophet. Of course, if someone has a conception that Krishna was a great personality, that's nice, but we're not gonna understand Krishna that way. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishani chabutani mam tuveda nakaschana. Krishna says, I am the knower of past, present, and future, and all living entities. Yet me, no one knows. The open secret to begin to know Krishna, that's that devotional service. This is the realization that the absolute truth and the source of all relative truths, the absolute truth, the source of all energies, is Vigraha. This is the realization of Shukadeva Goswami, who's describing this conversation between Brahma and Narada. This is the realization of Brahma, who speaks Isvara Parama Krishna Sat Chidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller. We are all gods, and God means controller. We all have our sphere of control. We all have our tiny sphere of control, or at least the illusion of control. And the supreme controller is Krishna, the controller of the controller, the supervisor of the supervisor of the supervisor. If we trace it back, that's Krishna. Govinda, the cause of all causes. Srila Vyasadeva, this is a very instructive point. The life and consciousness of Srila Vyasadeva. So this Bhagavatam, this is Sarvas Vedeti Hasanam Saram Saram Samudrita. This is the cream of the Vedic literatures. This gives here's what the Vedas are all about. And it's spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. What's in Shukadeva Goswami's heart? Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. It's being compiled, narrated, we might say, by Srila Vyasadeva. What's in Vyasadev's heart? What's his consciousness? What's his consciousness? Pure devotional service to Krishna is described. After Vyasadeva compiled the Vedas, he was despondent because he knew somewhere that people in this Kali Yuga, they're not going to get it. It's simple, but they're not going to get it because there's too much envy and lust and just gross foolishness and ignorance. So a spiritual master, Narada Muni, came. Narada Muni asked some open-ended questions. What's your despondency about? What's going on? Vyasadeva says, you're very empathic. You don't even need to ask me. You know what's going on. You can see my heart. Narada Muni says, yep, that's right. I can see. You're despondent because you're trying to be compassionate. You're so compassionate. But people, from what you wrote, people will still be bewildered. Because essentially what you wrote is Vayasamtirtam. Like a pilgrimage place for crows. And this, Vyasadeva had written the Upanishads and the Puranas and the Rig Veda. So how would we, if that's the pilgrimage place for crows, how would we classify today's literature? So Nagana Muni goes on, Tadbhag Visargo Janataga Viplovo. Yasmin Pratishloka Yabhadavat Yapi Namanyananta Se Shulkitanya Shrivanti Antikrinanti Sadava. He describes that literature which glorifies Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, that's for the swans. And that literature is heard, sung, and appreciated by purified people everywhere. So Vyasadeva, Bhakti Yogena Manasi, Vyasadeva went into a trance of bhakti. Bhakti Yogena Manasi went into a trance of bhakti. In that trance, he had a vision of the absolute, which is Sri Krishna. On the back of Sri Krishna, there's Krishna's energy of Maya. And Vyasadeva is feeling compassionate pain in his heart. He's feeling compassionate pain in his heart. And it's described. Anarto pashamam saksha bhakti yogam at hokshaje lokasya janta vidvam chakre samhita sat chakre sat vika samhitam. That because Vyasadeva saw Anarta, all that unwanted dirt in the heart, all the crud in the heart, and he saw that for the people of this age, Bhakti Yoga is the solution to come out of the miseries of the material context and achieve the actual bliss of the soul. Bhakti Yoga to Sri Krishna. Look, I said but people won't get it from what I've already written. Chakra Satvita Samhita. So as a result, Vyasadeva got into action and compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada gave this, he gave Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita as the core, like here's what will really help you to realize who you are, spirit, souls, eternal servants of God in love and devotion. And then certainly supportive literatures like the Ishopanishad, literature by the Goswamis, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction. All right, so this verse reads, Iti te bihitam tata yatedam anuprichasi nanyad bhagavata kinshit bhavyam sadasad atmakam. My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your attention and presence. I welcome at this time any comments or questions. Hare Krishna.
I have a question. So towards the beginning of the class, you were saying that we're by the compassion and mercy of Krishna and the pure devotee, we're all met where we're at in regards to impersonal realization or Paramatma realization. And I have like an experience of impersonal realization being like I experienced like this conflict between like so much of the Bhagavatam and some of what we were reading a few weeks before being about the universal form and seeing Krishna in nature and different aspects of material reality. And then there's also such a like what I experienced as like an intense minimizing of that, and which makes sense to me, but sometimes it seems like that would would push away people who are drawn to the impersonal aspect, like push them away from Krishna consciousness, because there can be such a pronounced minimization of it.
Yeah, it can appear negative, narrow, not non-inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for sharing, Narayan. Yeah, and so I mean, yeah, so we don't want to do that. At least I endeavor not to do that. Like I endeavor, to see each aspect of the absolute in the context of the totality, as far as nature, material nature, and Brahmagoti, the different paths, in the context of the totality, in the context of what role they're meant to play. And then I want to endeavor, again, to meet people there where they're at. So like if someone is like, for me, taking a walk in the park, I mean, for me, that's God, God in nature. And so, of course, depending on my relationship with the person, I won't want to do anything, overtly or energetically or subtly to like make that wrong or minimize it. Like, oh yes, yeah, God in nature. And maybe if the person wants to hear from me that, yeah, like in, a scripture I've been inspired by, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, it's so much describes so many ways to naturally appreciate God's presence in nature. And so just to, we're not trying to convert anyone. We're not trying to get someone to join anything, but there's a natural convergence. Now, depending where I'm at, where I sense someone's at, then maybe we'll engage in some thought-provoking thought exercise. Yeah, like you have your nature, and Keith has his nature, Ramachandra's nature, Malini has I have my nature. So wherever there's a nature, there's a person. So I find that an interesting question. Like, yeah, the trees, the squirrels, the oceans, the rivers, the sky, the surf, the ocean, yeah, nature. And so sometimes I wonder whose nature it is. So we don't want to minimize. We want to like really, really encourage ourselves and people, encourage them where they're at. And then, where there's like an organic sense of trust and opening, we can invite the spirit of Atato Brahma Jigyasa, the spirit of inquiry into the possibility of further and fuller and deeper realization.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dhira. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Anandini.
Yes, so I read that there are these two different types of devotees. So there's the devotee, and there are names for them, but I don't remember. And that one is like really inclined to preaching, sharing with others, and like practicing in association. And there's also the devotee that's not inclined to do that. Who's more private and practicing for themselves and just quietly. So I'm interested to maybe you can say something about that.
Sure, thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, probably the terms you're referring to, Prabhupada uses these terms fairly frequently, is the one who's inclined to share. That's called the Gostinanandi. And the one who's inclined to just kind of on his or her own, that's called the Bhajananandi. Like we know the term bhajan, just like I do my bhajan on my own. So that's it. That's it. And so so Prabhupada clearly is a ghost in a Nandi. Okay, he traveled across the sea. You know, he traveled around the world 14 times in his 70s to share. So that's a ghost in a Nandi. In our line, we have like Gorkishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji. These are Bhajananandis. Gorkishore Das Babaji, he didn't want any disciples, but Bhaktisiddhanta insisted that you accept me. So in our line, we have both. We have both. Now, okay, I appreciate this discussion. So certainly, following in the mood of Prabhupada, we're ghosting the Nandis. We're into sharing. And then for both the Ghostanandi and Bhajanandi conceptions, there can be misconceptions or imbalanced misapplications, which can be harmful. So a Ghostanandi, Prabhupada, in the line of Prabhupada, it's not like, well, I'm just like out there on the front lines. I have no time for quiet introspection. No, no, that because if we're not deep and internal in our realizations, then what we're sharing is probably empty and hollow and maybe causing more disturbance than good. So we can see, like we cited Prabhupada, certainly Bhaktisiddhanta was manifesting as a ghost in a Nandi. At the same time, Bhaktisiddhanta had 10 years of his life where he chanted 1 billion names of God in 10 years.
I heard also every Chaturmasya he would do like Haridas stuff for 300,000 names.
Yeah, 300,000, yeah. So, okay. So Srila Prabhupada, he had his years at Radha Damodar. So the spirit of the Ghosti Nandi is not to avoid internal introspection. It's not like in the name of I'm going to distribute books and like this, and I'm going to preach. It's not to avoid that internal introspection. We look at Prabhupada, look at Bhaktisiddhanta. These were profoundly introspective, spiritual bhakti yogis. And from that place of deep inner realization, their service was to share broadly, boldly, and with an adventuresome spirit. Okay, so yeah, so in the name of being a Ghostanandi, we don't want to avoid our introspective process. Part of our process is to create quiet time every day to introspectively read Prabhupada's books and consider, how does this apply to me? What's my realization? Yes. Yeah. And in fact, if our service is doing home programs and sharing in classes, then that means it's especially important that we spend introspective time and we're attentive in our japa. I was talking to Malini a few days ago that these programs we do, and we share with each other, and I get to sometimes lead class and discussions, even my coaching sessions, coach training, it's all bhakti yoga programs. And so I say, so in one sense, because I'm so busy, so I can think in terms of, there's not enough time to read, but then it's important for me to make it important that there's time, quiet time to read Prabhupada's books, especially his books and also his lectures and hearing from Prabhupada. So then I'm filled up with insight and realization to share. Okay, so our line is Ghostanandis. Then as far as the Bhajananandis, we're not criticizing them. We have them in our line. They have their service. The thing about the Bhajananandis, in the name of Bhajananandis, even like Haridas Thakur was a Bhajananandi, and Haridas Thakur has inspired this whole movement. We're in Switzerland and Florida chanting Hare Krishna because of Haridas Thakur, and he was a Bhajananandi, right? He chanted like 100 172 rounds per day minimum. So the thing with that, in the name of bhajana nandis, Prabhupada would point out, there's a lot of fakers and cheaters. Doesn't mean that everyone who's in that role is. In our line, we have very authorized bhajana nandis. But in the name of bhajana nandi, there are some who, they'll like go to the forest to just chant, and Prabhupada would say then they'll become like monkeys and just having sex with this woman and that woman, and they're just doing it for some cheap name and adoration and like that. So both in the name of Goshanands and Bhajanandis, there can be cheating and artificiality. So we want to avoid that.
So I have two questions. One clarification. So Goshti Anandi, that's like someone who's in contact with others and communicating, communicating from the understanding and knowledge they have. That's already Goshti Anandi, even if he's not preaching in the streets. So me sharing here a question and listening, that's Goshti Anandi.
Yeah.
And Bhajananandi, that's someone who's hardly any contact with other human beings, somewhere hidden in a cave or the forest, just chanting.
Yeah, that's my basic conception, correct.
Okay. And then a question, how do you get to the conclusion that we're all Goshti Anandi if in the same line there are Goshti Anandi and Bhajananandi?
Yeah, okay, thanks for that. Yes, well, maybe some of us can decide my service is more Bhajananandi. We can decide that. I'm saying, in our line, there's both examples. There's many examples, but we're, with Prabhupada as our current link, then, so if we're following Prabhupada, his mood was quite clear. His mood was quite clear. Prabhupada gave one Bhajananandi initiation.
To someone who was about to die, I think.
Yeah, Prabhupada gave one Bhajananandi initiation, and it's described, you read about it. I even remember the devotee's name. And anyhow, someone was like, he had some disease, he was about to die in a few months, supposedly, and Prabhupada gave him that. Actually, Dravanaksha Prabhu, who passed away, his last programs here were about a year ago. He passed away about 9 months ago. But Dravanaksha Prabhu personally told the story because he knew the devotee from Chicago. Anyhow, a few months after Prabhupada gave the Bhajananandi initiation, you just go to a cave in Radhakund and chant. The devotee was seen driving a sports car with a convertible roof in Chicago. So it means he didn't die of his disease, and he wasn't chanting 200 rounds a day. So Prabhupada did give one Bhajananandi initiation. It didn't work. My sense was, Prabhupada wasn't shocked that it didn't work so well. It was kind of like, okay, here's what happens. Basically, Prabhupada describes very much, look, now it doesn't mean to be absolute. Maybe some of us here no, my thing is to go to the forest and chant 200 japa rounds per day. That's my thing, and to just have a few fruits from the trees or something. But pretty much Prabhupada said, look, you're not built for this, 200. You're just not built for it. Maybe once in a while on a Kaddish you chant extra rounds. But basically you're built these bodies got lots of passion and stuff. You're built, chant at least 16 rounds, more if you like, and you're built to rack your brain to spread this movement Find creative, adventurous, bold ways according to your particular nature. Find creative ways to spread this movement. And if you try, if you try to just, no, that's not my thing. I'm just going to chant and read all day and not share with others. And if someone can actually do it, well, that's a wonderful thing to do with time. Reading Bhagavatam and chanting 200 rounds of japa per day. Prabhupada said, for most all of you, if not all of you, it's artificial. It's artificial. And for most all of you to advance powerfully and steadily, do at least the minimum number of rounds, read regularly, morning program, offer all your food, and be engaged and be engaged, you know, many hours per week, many hours per day in finding ways to share this. That's your nature. That's your nature. Like, and to try to be a Bhajanandi won't work for us. Again, I'm not speaking absolutely, but this is Prabhupada's essential message. I know it's true for me. I mean, like, you know, like I say, yes, I wish I could just chant all day, but I have so many things to do. That's nonsense. I mean, like, you know, after 2-3 days, certainly a week, I'd be like, you know, I'd be thinking of, you know, so many things I want to do. I'm not going to be satisfied in my only service being to chant japa like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anandini. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Malini.
Yeah, because our conversation we had, you and I, and the conversation I had with Narayan and Izzy yesterday, I don't know, a week ago I was meditating on what kept me chanting 16 rounds every day, what kept me practicing bhakti yoga and not be lured by the material energy, you know, for the last 30 years. Hopefully it will continue, but at least for the last 30 years. And I was really looking at what really kept me in a fire, that I'm enthusiastic still about bhakti yoga, about reading and about chanting, and about what really kept me in the fire of devotional life was to share it with others. And I can see how this is what makes spiritual life alive for me, is to share it with others. And if that sharing with others wasn't there, my sense is that it would have become really dry for me, like it's just my personality. And then I will have, you know, it will have not really been as alive as it is today. And then I was thinking of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, you know, as I was meditating on that on myself, I was thinking of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. It's all about sharing. It's all about, like, Lord Chaitanya is a tree, and he's the branches, and he's the fruit, and he's a gardener, and he also distributes the fruit. And he asks us to be good, he asks us to help him to distribute the fruit. And I was thinking, how merciful is that? How merciful is that? Looking at how there is no other way for a normal Kali Yoga person, and you know, Gaur Keshodas Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, they are not ordinary human beings. They are Nityasiddhas, and Prabhupada could have chosen the same path. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur could have chosen the same path. For them it is a choice. For us ordinary human beings, you know, speaking for me, it's almost not a choice, and that's Lord Chaitanya's mercy upon us, that by creating the Sankirtan movement, by really supporting us, asking us, begging us, giving us instruction, be a guru, preach, they are protecting us. And also I was thinking of material kind of principle, is as you teach, you learn. So the more we give, like I know when I give Krishna consciousness, when I feel responsibility for other people's lives, spiritual lives, it keeps me on track a lot more than if it's just me. Then I can slack a lot easier. So I was appreciating in my meditation, I was appreciating Lord Chaitanya's genius, like Krishna's intelligence again. Yes.
And thanks for that, Malini. Yeah, the saying I've heard it attributed to Einstein. Not sure who said it. That we haven't really learned something till we can teach it effectively. And so if I'm sharing, then that's for my benefit, because I'm forced to get deeper realizations. I appreciate your sharing very much, Molly. I'm thinking of just yesterday evening, I conducted an online coach training, and it was kind of like the end of a semester. It was the last meeting of a semester, and it was 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm just thinking to myself, and then somewhere around 5:15 after my last coaching session for the day, I really wanted to be in a consciousness to share the essence of transformational coaching. And so I had so many correspondence and emails and stuff to do, but I decided I'll chant 2 rounds and study Srimad Bhagavatam, because I want to prepare my consciousness to be in a devotional consciousness to conduct that last meeting of our coach training group. So just hearing your sharing, I'm thinking, if I wasn't in that sharing, if I didn't have that structure to share, then in that time, I would not have chanted extra rounds and read Bhagavatam. I read extra rounds and read Bhagavatam because I wanted to have fresh realization, clean consciousness to share. So thanks that your sharing helps me get some realization. Bhakti George.
Hare Krishna, David, thank you. I really appreciate your last inspiration based on Marie's inspiration. As I'm speaking right now, I'm finding ways of incorporating what you just said in my personal life. But my question regarding your sharing today was about clarifying a little bit regarding committing the 9th offense that you mentioned in regards to turning people away. I guess my personal context is about 13 years ago, kind of pursuing the slaughterhouse of higher education, or Prabhupada says the slaughterhouse of knowledge. It's in many ways been the exact opposite of what we do right now here, where everyone is, interested and sincere and wanting to inspire. It's almost been like that experience for the last 13 years. It's been like, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Mean Girls. It's like a movie about the intricacies of high school girls as far as, gossiping and finding opportunities to strike, and the whole animal life of fearing and defending in various ways. And the only time I've seen actual, in this 13 years, like people going into these I guess locations of higher education has been at Krishna Lunch here at the University of Florida.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen it in other places, and even within the University of Florida, it's kind of outdoors at this Plaza of Americas, an open space where people could be philosophy majors, people could be like agriculturalists. Like I've never seen it in like the physics lounge or like the biochemistry halls or things where people are very much and so part of my realization just from trying to chant and being in close quarters with my colleagues, and I've also been a mean girl, I guess, in that context in the last 13 years for sure, and been the victim of mean girls in this context. But it's almost like me just chanting for myself, it almost feels like it's naturally disturbing to the consciousness of individuals in these buildings and that are trying to do this. It doesn't look good for sure, walking around with a japa bag. And like I could see them arguing that it's a disturbance to whatever mundane gossip and things like they want to talk about all day. So I'm wondering, like, because I try to do it from a place of taking shelter, because I struggle so much with disturbance when I'm there. So I just try to chant in a low voice wherever I am, and I've been pushing, I guess, pushing the the boundaries of when and where I can do that, and also kind of wrangling with my own looking good in those circles, and my own weakness of heart, as far as just, you know, doing that. And part of me is wondering, like, maybe I am turning them away just because I refuse to stop chanting, you know, because I have to hear it. Otherwise, what am I doing if I just think about it in my head? So, and at the same time, though, I don't really care, I guess, if I'm disturbing them, because I mean, like, I'm not trying to actively preach to them. I'm just trying to, like, when lunchtime comes and I'm in my office, turn my computer off and just chant in my own little spot where I have it. So I'm wondering what that means as far as, like, killing other people's Bhakti Lakta Beach or the ninth offense and so forth.
Thanks for sharing your personal context and experience, Bhakti George. And here I had one particular professor in my graduate school PhD days in the 90s. It was Professor Dave Smith, and he used to specifically refer to academia as a food chain. He would say like that. So the journal editors are here on the food chain, and if you're an associate professor, you're here, and you'll just get destroyed if someone has tenure. And he would specifically refer to it as a food chain. So very, very appropriate. And so it's like if we're humbly doing our service and someone gets disturbed, then that's not the ninth offense. Prabhupada was boldly and humbly doing his service. Some people got disturbed. Some people got disturbed. Because another aspect is, if we're doing our service in Krishna consciousness, the fact that some people are disturbed shows that we have potency. See, that's different than trying to disturb them because we're immature and we don't know how to present things properly. But just like Jesus didn't commit any offenses to God or God's name, but some people were so disturbed that they crucified. Okay, so Jesus was doing his service, and actually, if we're doing our service in this material context where people are militantly dedicated to materialism, then some people will be disturbed, even disturbed by Jesus or Prabhupada. People who really are pure in heart. And I appreciate you're saying you're looking at, you know, what's the condition of your heart? Where are you attached to looking good? Where are you attached to your society, friendship, and love in the material sense in academia? So you're looking at what might be in anartha. And then, you know, again, I'm not there right in your context, but it's also very possible that, you know, some people, they see that George is doing this, and some people might be quietly attracted. Some people, unbeknownst to you, maybe their gradual, their Bhakti Lata Bij is awakening, because, oh, this George he's doing something different here. I don't know what it is. I've never even talked to him. You might be doing service and sharing that you're not even aware of. And so, you know, from what you describe, you quietly chanting in your office or even on campus, that's not the ninth offense. And some might be quietly attracted, some neutral, some disturbed. You know, the ninth offense is if, like, in class, if you go to a professor's office and in an obnoxious voice, you tell them, you should chant too, or you're gonna burn in hell. And then they, you know, then you're doing something, you know, just revealing your immaturity, and you're actively creating disturbance. But it sounds like you're humbly doing your service, chanting Hare Krishna Japa, and you're giving some a chance to be attracted. Maybe some of you heard my story. I was thinking to do my PhD dissertation on something else, and my major professor, Neil Abel, he he wasn't willing to support me unless I did something I'm really passionate about. That was his word. And I was going to just do something else. And then he said, well, I've seen you walking around campus holding a cloth bag and mumbling something. You seem passionate about that. And I said, oh yeah, I am enthusiastic about that. And that led to the Maha Mantra dissertations. So, you know, I appreciate your introspection.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, George.
Hello. Hello.
Daru Brahma, yes, Hare Krishna.
Hi, well, just a quick point. I remember one devotee when I was a pretty young devotee. He was unfortunately, he happened to be Spanish, but he had misunderstood the whole idea of, well, people get benefit by seeing people chanting. And so when I'm driving the car, I'll turn to them and I'll chant Hare Krishna while I'm chanting. But he would look like an idiot, you know, the mouth moving, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. And so he was so hard to convince that, no, you know, don't just because you're in public, either make it loud like that or even move your lips. Because I once was on a plane, television wires always talked about, I was chanting on the other side of the plane, and he just looked at me, and I looked like an idiot to all the passengers because I was moving my mouth. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. I mean, it can look like really foolishness from a distance. You should be careful how we appear to the public, even though it's a benefit for them to hear, to see chanting. It doesn't have to be they have to hear it too. Anyhow, just a couple of points I thought I'd throw out from what you said. I hope it helped a little bit. But anyhow. Is that okay?
Thank you, Daru Brahma. Thanks for sharing those examples. I'll just make some interpersonal connections here. So in George's sharing, he mentioned Krishna lunch. So just so you're aware. So Daru was running and managing Krishna lunch, I'd say from about the late 80s, well into the 90s in Gainesville, and then in Tallahassee after that. So just to make some historical connections, Daru served hundreds of thousands of plates of prasad there at the University of Florida campus, directing the Krishna lunch program and the Gainesville Krishna Center. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your presence and sharing and association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A moment of Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.